Mahmoud Yakub bows out as INEC chairman. May Agbamuche Mbu takes over.
In the interim, I am handing over to one of the most senior national commissioners by date of appointment.
And President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, nudges colleagues on constitution amendment.
We must legislate with boldness. We must give the youths of Nigeria not only hope, but opportunities.
House of Representatives receives President Tinubu's $2.3 billion loan request.
Our goal is to make elections less contentious and litigious, lower their cost through single-day voting.
On Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss Africa's collective progress through diplomacy. And much later, the big vaccine push against killer childhood diseases.
Africa's collective progress through diplomacy has been remarkable, from conflict resolution to regional integration and economic development. The continent continues to show strength in unity.
Absolutely. Now, much of that progress has been driven by the African Union, as well as other regional bodies, of course, like ECOWAS and the Southern African Development Council, SADC, all working together to foster stability across the region, trade and partnership across borders.
Now, another landmark initiative is about to take shape. With the inauguration of the League of African Ambassadors in Zambia, it is aimed at harnessing the wealth of experience of African diplomats to strengthen the continent's role on the global stage. Now,
that sounds intriguing. The League, we hear, is expected to provide a very strong backbone for African diplomacy, which is a platform for collective action, policy influence, and then knowledge sharing among seasoned diplomats. It also promises to build capacity and promote effective cooperation across member states.
Beyond that, the League aims to amplify Africa's voice on global issues, presenting a unified front that champions the continent's interest and development agenda.
Now, this couldn't have come at a better time, especially with initiatives like the African Continental Free Trade Area and the Single African Air Transport Market gaining momentum. The League's inauguration could provide diplomatic boost that is needed to deepen integration and sustain economic growth across the continent.
Well, that's right, Claire. Welcome to Good Morning Nigeria, where we take a closer look at the stories and initiatives shaping Africa's future. Today we focus on the power of collective diplomacy and what the inauguration of the League of African Ambassadors means for the continent. I am Ademola Adeoye. Always a pleasure to have you join us.
Indeed, Ademola, you know, there was a time that African leaders came together and then muted an idea of an African, democracy, which, would encompass all the African countries and all that. But that didn't work. It didn't work as planned. We wonder what this League of Ambassadors, would come up with in terms of diplomacy. I am Claire Adelabu Abdurrazak, and as always, I'm very glad to have you join us. Today, Africa's diplomatic journey will continue to evolve, and we'll be exploring its impact in the first part of our program.
Later on, we turn our attention to the big vaccine push, a concerted effort to protect children against deadly diseases across the continent.
And of course, just to give you an idea, two of those diseases, including measles and rubella, and we hear that though measles is widely known, the impact of rubella is, however, more deadly, especially in children. So there is an integrated vaccine campaign to see if that can bring out a positive outcome. So you're watching Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the NTA. These are two topics, very important topics for all of us, and we will be looking at those. But of course, there will be newspaper review that will be coming up shortly after the news. And Comfort Emodo is already by the corner, looking up ahead. I don't know which of these stories will interest you today. I mean, the conversations. Is it the diplomat? I know you are a diplomat in the making. Comfort, yes. Good to have you.
Every one of them is quite important and critical to our growth and development. Absolutely. As the children must be safe.
Absolutely.
Well, there's a new era at the INEC with chairmanship transition and a presidential tribute after a decade in office. Professor Mahmoud Yakubu has concluded his second tenure as INEC chairman. He handed over to INEC National Commissioner May Agbamuche Mbu as acting chairman and pending the appointment of a new INEC chairman by the president.
Having been privileged to serve the commission for 10 years, with only a few more weeks to serve, I've taken a decision and conveyed same. In the interim, I am handing over to one of the most senior national commissioners by date of appointment.
And following the chairmanship transition, President Tinubu honors Professor Yakubu's service with a National Honor of Commander of the Order of the Niger on the outgoing chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, as he bows out after 2 terms in office. In a statement by Bayo Onanuga, Special Advisor to the President, Information and Strategy, Professor Yakubu was first appointed in November 2015 as the 14th Chairman of the Commission for an initial term of 5 years. And the appointment, which was renewed in 2020, has now expired due to the passage of time. And President Tinubu thanked Professor Yakubu for his services to the nation and his efforts to sustain Nigerians' democracy, particularly through the organization of free and fair elections throughout his 2-term tenure. In another development, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has accepted the resignation of Geoffrey Uche Nnaji, the Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, following allegations against him. A statement by Bayo Onanuga, Special Advisor to the President, Information and Strategy, indicates that President Tinubu appointed Nnaji in August 2023, and the minister resigned on Tuesday. In a letter appreciating the president for allowing him to serve Nigeria, Nnaji said he has been a target of blackmail by political opponents, and President Tinubu thanked him for his service and wished him well in future endeavors. Now let's shift focus to legislative matters, with the Senate reconvening plenary after 10 weeks of annual recess. And President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, while presiding over the session, implored his colleagues to be steadfast in the discharge of constitutional responsibilities to make the Federation stronger, governance efficient, and democracy more inclusive. Letters from President Tinubu requesting Senate's confirmation of appointees were read at the commencement of the plenary.
We must give the youths of Nigeria not only hope, but opportunities. We must revisit the constitutional amendment. Where policies raise our people, we shall learn our strength.
And President Bola Tinubu has requested the approval of the House of Representatives for the federal government to raise $2.34 billion in new external borrowing, and part of which is to finance the 2025 budget deficit and refinance maturing Eurobonds. The president is also seeking approval for a standalone Sukuk loan of $500 million in the domestic capital markets to finance critical road projects.
Representatives may wish to note that 2025 Appropriation Act provides for 9,276,348,934 naira as new borrowings to finance the 2025 budget deficit.
Those are the highlights of the news at this time. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Claire and Ademola, and the conversations very, very critical. You do not want to miss that. So stay tuned after the break.
The Renewed Hope Initiative RHI presents the RHI Green Nigeria Challenge. Go green today for a greener tomorrow. This national competition is in 3 categories. The household category is a tree planting competition amongst 11 frontline states in northern Nigeria. Each participating household in Adamawa, Borno, Bauchi, Gombe, Jigawa, Kano, Katsina, Kebbi, Sokoto, Yobe, and Zamfara states will plant a minimum of 1 tree to qualify, with a video evidence of before and after the tree planting exercise. 20 million naira will be awarded to the best household. Submission deadline is 20th December 2026. Community category will see local governments, local communities, schools, and NGOs reclaim and transform degraded or abandoned areas such as dump sites, landfills, parks, and their likes into green, vibrant gardens, parks, and eco-friendly spaces. 50 million naira would be awarded to the overall best community group. Deadline for submission is 15th July 2026. State category will have all states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory, excluding Enugu State, have a chance to address the growing threats to environmental sustainability and cleanliness. States will be judged based on the number of trees planted on major roads and inner streets and how clean they are. 100 million naira will be awarded to the best performing state. Already, Enugu State has 100 million naira for being RHI's model green state due to its greenery and cleanliness. Video evidence must be submitted by participating states on or before 20th December 2026. All entries must be directed to RHI Office, State House, Abuja, or email rhi.greenchallenge@statehouse.gov.ng. RHI Green Nigeria Challenge. Go green today for a greener tomorrow.
Little body, big moves. Little brain, big learning. Your little child is eager to do big things. Every sachet comes with the nutrients they need every day. Made from natural grains, contains protein and fortified with iron to support their physical growth, learning, and development. So you can fully enjoy your little one's big moments of growth.
What food do you need?
Guys, food is ready.
To impress.
Milo 3-in-1 Milky and Creamy is truly milky and contains calcium. So, no need to add milk for that rich, creamy cup, which helps to nourish your kids.
TerraQ or Rapjoy. Unleash taste.
Thanks for staying with us. You're still on to Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. Up next is Newspaper Review.
All right, welcome back. Chukwudi Okedibwaja is right here with us. Chukwudi, good morning.
How are you, Claire? Good morning. Demo.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
You are demolishing Good Morning Nigeria favorably for the viewer. That's a good one.
Thank you for the compliment.
I like to be like you, but it doesn't work for me. I don't know how you manage to be calm all the time.
Just keep...
it's calmness. It's not in your DNA. All right, let's take Daily Times. And it's leading with Tinubu seeks NAS approval for new $2.3 billion external borrowing. Again, Tinubu seeks NAS approval for new $2.3 billion external borrowing, $500 million sovereign sukuk. And other stories are there. Nnaji bows to pressure, resigns as president accepts his resignation. Chukwudi, let's look at the external borrowing.
Yes.
We're not done.
No, we're done. He knows. He doesn't know this.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay.
Yes.
We'll take it in stride, please.
Yes.
Yeah. The external borrowing, what I have always said is this. I thought I heard from the presidency, I think that's about internal borrowing, that is not necessary anymore. This is one is external, I think. And if there's need for it, you go for it. Somebody said the other time that it is not that Nigeria is over borrowing. What has happened is that we are not generating enough. We are not generating enough revenue to meet our needs. Otherwise, we have capacity to borrow what we want to borrow. Fine, I'm not an economist. Get an economist to talk deeply on it. What I'm interested in is the Debt Management Office. Do they feel alarmed at this point that we are hitting the threshold? If they do, are they speaking up so that the presidency will be well guided? Always be constructive about it. So if you don't have all the details, you don't castigate, you know? So that's the way I look at it.
I think another story that Demola has that also trending is the Nnaji.
The Nnaji.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Demola, what's your caption?
Oh, okay. This Vanguard newspaper, and we have Minister Uche Nnaji resigns amid certificate forgery allegations. You want to speak to that before I read others?
Let's just take them piecemeal. What did we say yesterday about the minister? We said, first of all, the dearth of an effective data bank in our country is our first ailment, our first malady. Because I should be in a position to punch up your certificate anywhere if we were really running the way we should run. But then to treat this particular matter, why wait all this time? Court processes were being arranged and all that, when you knew that there's a little blemish somewhere. For the president to have accepted his resignation, it's either they do not want an unfavorable distraction, or really there is some truth in what has happened. He's asking for his transcripts from the UNN and all that. And he's saying Enugu state government is behind this and all that. My people say, who stand well, not they do like this. You don't need to.
No smoke without fire.
That's the point. So
there are two issues. Yesterday, I was watching a sister station, and I think one of his, I don't know if he's an aide or a supporter or a friend, was on TV to actually make what I, would appear to be a strong case in his favor. And there was another letter online from UNN, addressed to Premium Times, indicating that he did, matriculate at the UNN. But the UNN says that they were not sure if he graduated,
And he was not issued any certificate.
Exactly.
That's what's
but I mean, it's so funny. I mean, becomes curious.
Is it a procedural blunder by the institution he attended? Or was it something that came from his not doing what he should have done at a particular time?
Yes, because
these are the things that journalists need to dig into.
Yes, because
to make sure that it doesn't happen again.
If he did matriculate, then UNN should also be aware, or should be have the knowledge that he no longer.
They should have the record.
Once you matriculate, your name gets on that list.
Yes, but if he did not graduate,
go to the 1980 list of those who got into the Department of Linguistics and African Languages, and Chukwudi Okulubaja's name will be there.
But do you think
the opportunity to boast now? Which one you did?
Do you think that his resignation, I mean,
yes.
people will say, well, that's the right thing to do.
Of course, it is. It is the right
thing.
The
thing is, he said there's no smoke without fire.
Yeah.
The president has looked at the matter, and they have found out that this thing gets a CB. When he gets a CB, look, there are some positions you occupy. You're not going to become God. Nobody can play God. We are all sinners, every one of us. But there are some positions you occupy that must be a trailblazing reference for other people. You don't allow such things.
Should he be applauded?
You know?
For resigning?
Was he not resisting resignation?
That is the
Wasn't
thing. So you can't applaud.
Why
these are things that we, steps that I think we should encourage. Yeah. Once you've been found wanting,
exactly,
political officer,
you bow out.
You just tender.
You know, there's something I say about African people. The mosques are full to the brim. The churches are full to the brim. Then you see people in mosques and churches get accused of certain things, and they tell you, and so what? Those things, 1/3 of it is enough for a white man to throw in his resignation.
Absolutely.
Do you understand? So Africa has to rearrange thinking. Former vice president said something about that I found so good. I'm going to send it to you guys. About you have to work before you expect an alert from God. He restructured preaching. I'll send it to you guys, okay?
All right. Well, we have these federal highways of horror. Motorists, travelers in anguish. Crowd for urgent government intervention, lack of funds hampering our intervention. The roads.
I'm afraid I'm going to have to drive from Abuja to Seluku in December because I can't afford air travel for
every
member of my family.
You don't know what could happen.
Look, it's an African expectation, please. We have to work against. You don't know what will happen. That is why there's problem in this country. You will reap what you sow, except if there's something I arrange now that will bring money, and I don't think that thing is, you have to be realistic to yourself. Don't overburden yourself psychologically. It is a problem.
You know, when I
Do you understand?
When I see
I'm not wishing myself
like
evil.
This, Demola,
I'm a practical
when
person.
I read captions like this,
yes,
I begin to wonder the stories we hear about road construction, road rehabilitation all across the country. I mean, Minister Omaya has been going around, talking about, efforts by government and all that. So what is it? How do we now juxtapose what we hear and, what we read?
The thing is, in economics, sometimes a population outpaces the rate of development within the country. I hope that's not our case, So the roads may really be overwhelming for government, given the fact that internal revenue generation is not good enough. I think it's going to get better from January 1, where tax evaders are going to come into the net. In the UK and the US, it's not Texas oil that gives that the US is proud that gives them money. It's taxation. It's taxation. The Lagos model is being brought into Nigeria. It was a Lagos model of taxation that actually provided money that changed Lagos. That's what's happening now, if you want to be fair,
Let's move forward. The INEC, there's a new...
Bows out.
Yes, change of hands, Mahmoud Yakubu, has completed his two terms.
2 terms of 5 years.
Of 5 years each. And he's handed over to the most senior officer there, Mayor Agbamuche Mbu, and as acting chairman. Yes. Is it time that a female, took over?
I don't know whether we should go sexist about it. I'm interested.
It's not being sexist. We're looking at, gender.
Claire. Yes. I am for.
I just asked.
I am for the African woman, not just Nigerian woman, to be given opportunity to fulfill her life to some extent. That is why I like the latest, that the women will have this number of. I like that.
The percentage.
But the bottom line is, are we going for an individual that will give us free and fair elections? She's just practically there in interim. I don't think.
Absolutely.
I think somebody is going to be appointed. But please, if my sister, I don't know her, happens to be the incumbent later, good. Are we going to get transparent elections? Are we going to have less ordeal registering when we want to renew our franchise and all that? Those are the issues. Black Africa, it's not a Nigerian, it's an African thing. It's attitude that has killed this continent. It's attitude. The white man is not superior to you. The 3 days I spent in London, people were looking at me, the few English sentences I tried, they thought I was not capable of speaking English the way I spoke it. So you can be like any other person. It depends on you. But attitude is our problem.
Yes, okay, let's look at this. CBN cracks down on POS operators with new compliance rule. That is the 5 million naira fine.
POS
operators with new compliance rules.
Okay, I can't remember.
There's a new compliance
rules are now.
It's been there. Is it not since last year?
I think it's about enforcement now.
Yes,
I think they're trying to enforce compliance rule. Yes, monthly reporting obligations, and IRS minimum pay or maybe 5 million naira for violation and all that.
Fine, monthly report, compliance with monthly report. That is to make sure that you're acting within the behavioral code of the industry, which is the way it should be all the time,
The director is asking us to act within the times.
I'll try not to be a loose cannon like some POS operators.
Thanks.
Bless you.
See you again tomorrow.
Each day is a meal. Thank you.
Okay, now. We'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll kickstart the conversation. Stay with us.
The Renewed Hope Initiative RHI presents the RHI Green Nigeria Challenge. Go green today for a greener tomorrow. This national competition is in 3 categories. The household category is a tree planting competition amongst 11 frontline states in northern Nigeria. Each participating household in Adamawa, Borno, Bauchi, Gombe, Jigawa, Kano, Katsina, Kebbi, Sokoto, Yobe, and Zamfara states will plant a minimum of 1 tree to qualify, with a video evidence of before and after the tree planting exercise. 20 million naira will be awarded to the best household. Submission deadline is 20th December 2026. Community category will see local governments, local communities, schools, and NGOs reclaim and transform degraded or abandoned areas such as dump sites, landfills, parks, and their likes into green, vibrant gardens, parks, and eco-friendly spaces. 50 million naira would be awarded to the overall best community group. Deadline for submission is 15th July 2026. State category will have all states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory, excluding Enugu State, have a chance to address the growing threats to environmental sustainability and cleanliness. States will be judged based on the number of trees planted on major roads and inner streets and how clean they are. 100 million naira will be awarded to the best performing state. Already, Enugu State has 100 million naira for being RHI's model green state due to its greenery and cleanliness. Video evidence must be submitted by participating states on or before 20th December 2026. All entries must be directed to RHI Office, State House, Abuja, or email rhi.greenchallenge@statehouse.gov.ng. RHI Green Nigeria Challenge. Go green today for a greener tomorrow.
Welcome your host, Bisola Ayola.
Hi, everyone. Woo. All the way from Akwa Ibom State, it's the sensational family. Woo. And all the way from Benue State, it's the TWC family.
Christiana. I'm a fashion designer.
My name is Christiana. I'm a fashion designer.
You are into Asia. You are into catering. You are into another thing.
I sing. You sing as well.
Oh my God.
Grace, take it away.
All around the world, no one looks like you. You can put a smile on your face. You're beautiful. For the Spirit of the Lord lives and dwells in you.
Woo! Woo! Mention a common response if your situationship should ask you, what are we?
Pass. We are just friends. One item. Or like a sister to me.
Nothing.
Love us. We are who we are.
We are who we are. Survey says.
Have you been aspiring to be a student of the prestigious Ahmadu Bello University Zaria to no avail? Worry no more, as you can gain entry through NTA Television College, Jos, an affiliate of the renowned Ahmadu Bello University Zaria, where eligible candidates with a JAMB admissible scores of not less than 180 and 100 scores, and with 5 credits O-level in social sciences, including English and mathematics, can turn their passion in broadcasting to profession by applying for a BSc in Mass Communication and MBTE approved innovation diploma courses in film and television production, broadcast journalism and television engineering respectively. The college, as a training herb with a pedigree of professionalism in the media space, also offers specialized courses in other related fields. For more information, visit our website at www.ntatvc.edu.ng or contact 08033 834-343 and 08069-809-897. Announcer Management.
Welcome back to the program Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. To begin our conversation on Africa's collective progress through diplomacy, let's listen to the background report compiled by our correspondent Ibrahim Danhamidu.
Africa's story is no longer one told about her, but by her. From peacekeeping missions to trade blocs and continental charters, the African voice is growing louder in world diplomacy. In a continent of over 50 nations with shared struggles and aspirations, diplomacy has become the new weapon of progress. It is how nations once divided by borders now connect through purpose. From the African Continental Free Trade Area to cross-border infrastructure and peace missions in Sudan, Mali, and the Sahel. Just this month, the League of African Ambassadors announced its official inauguration in Lusaka, Zambia, an initiative supported by African heads of state to strengthen continental solidarity and visibility on the global stage. Their mission? To reposition Africa's diplomacy as one voice, one vision, and one future. But beyond grand summits and declarations lies a deeper question. How can African diplomacy translate into prosperity for ordinary citizens? Can shared foreign policy goals lead to shared prosperity, better trade terms, technology exchange, and peace that builds rather than breaks? As the continent seeks a stronger place in global decision-making, Nigeria's role becomes pivotal. Our diplomacy, rooted in peacekeeping, regional leadership, and people-centered engagement remains Africa's moral compass. Today on Good Morning Nigeria, diplomats will discuss how diplomacy can move Africa from dependence to dignity and from potential to power. Because the real strength of Africa's diplomacy is not in how loud we speak abroad, but how well we stand together at home.
Thanks, Ibrahim Dan Hamisu, for that background report. And now joining us to discuss Africa's collective progress through diplomacy, let me introduce here in our studio, Ambassador John Usanga is the Deputy Spokesperson, League of African Ambassadors. He was the former ambassador to Guinea-Bissau and Cape Verde. It's a pleasure to have you, Ambassador Usanga.
Thank you very much for having me, and good morning. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Africa.
All right, we have joining us via Zoom from Lusaka, Zambia, Ambassador Tony Muwita, and he's head of Media Communications, Planning Committee, League of African Ambassadors. Also former ambassador to Zambia, to the Federal Republic of Germany, with accreditation to Austria, Slovenia, and Hungary. We're very glad to have you with us, Ambassador. All right, we allow you to sip your cup of tea. Yeah. Ambassador Mukwita, if you're ready for us now, Ambassador Mukwita, are you there?
Okay. All right. Let's come back to the studio. Let's start. Let's kickstart with Ambassador Usanga, and I just want you to tell us, the primary goals of the League of African Ambassadors now that is going to be established, and how do they align the goals? How do they align with Africa's continental aspirations?
Thank you very much. For a very long time, Africa has struggled on its own because each country wanted to do its own thing. And it was also in the interest of the powers that be that each country, when a lion is trying to catch an animal, he will try to separate them. And this has been our problem in Africa. We don't have the strength to face the West individually as countries. And that has been a major hindrance. And so ambassadors just thought that we need to mobilize an overwhelming voice to ensure that we promote the interests of Africa in the world stage, so that we'll no longer, individually try to survive, but that coming together will give us that massive support that we need to lend a voice and chart policies for the advancement of Africa. And so the League came, and the objectives are not outside of what the AU is doing, but just to support what the AU is doing by mustering a force outside of the structure that will be free from interference, so that you can speak loudly and as loud as you can without being restrained by certain conditionalities. So we came together to foster the interests of Africa, and we see that we are hindered in so many ways. Trade and investment, for instance. We will never, ever achieve that trade and investment without us addressing the hindrances to trade and investment, for instance. And to be able to overcome the hindrances, we need to do what is needful. So, League of African Ambassadors will promote, for instance, connectivity. I'm not trying to, just talk about the legalese and the grammar. I'm talking about the reality of what is happening. So that when I was in Guinea-Bissau, for instance, and my country of accreditation, concurrent accreditation was Cape Verde. Sometimes I needed to go to Lisbon to be able to quickly get to Cape Verde. This should not be. Meanwhile, you could just cross in 2.5 hours here or there, but you need to go to Lisbon and then connect Cape Verde. If you needed to go to Cape Verde through Dakar, you have like a 10-hour stopover. So how do we advance trade and investment in Africa, for instance? We have to promote that connectivity so that African countries can come together if need be, even at the regional level, and see how trade and investment can be promoted through connectivity, either by air or by sea. And these are heavy investments that individual countries cannot cope.
Okay.
Our idea is to promote and support this African, interconnectivity so that we'll be able to, advance our interest more effectively. Secondly, when ambassadors retire, or ambassadors don't actually retire because they retain the name, they go with the institutional memory. And sometimes you sit down, people are calling you for certain things because the ambassadors are no more in the system. They go with the memory, and it shouldn't be. You cannot be, for instance, a petroleum engineer, and you retire, you go to do fish farming. What happened to all the years of training? How do you bring that training to bear on the advancements of the society? We need to train and equip other people, to be able to function effectively if we are going to muster a driving force for Africa. So we seek to retain that institutional memory. We seek to advance peace and security, trade and investment, agriculture, to muster an overwhelming force of diplomacy at the world stage and promote the interests of Africa. We are not political, but we are just like, okay, can we use our connections? Can we use our experiences that we have acquired in the course of our duties to advance the interests of Africa? And that's why we came together, and with the help of the ECOSOC, AU ECOSOC, we were able to, bring this to reality. This is what we want to achieve.
So making the retired ambassador, keeping you more relevant, in the scheme of things, right?
Yeah, you could say relevance to some extent, but it's not about the ambassadors. It's about the interest of Africa. Because, the group is for those who have served and left their posts, those who have retired, those who are still in service. So whether you have served as an ambassador plenipotentiary or you have served in a multilateral organization such as the UN and all that, those experiences need to be harnessed to further the interests of Africa in a world that is getting very fragmented.
Let me just get some clarifications.
Yes, please.
Before we even look at the gaps, because if you look at a league, the League of Nations, we know why the League of Nations was formed, and then how it also evolved into the United Nations, which is a platform for world countries with shared global interests and all that. In terms of Africa, we've had three phases in our evolution. There's the liberation stage, there's the post-independence, and now, of course, the multipolar world. And we have different diplomatic channels. If you look at Nigeria, our diplomatic structure may be quite different from Zambia, may be quite different from Ghana and all that. How do you hope to channel all of this, into a single collective, structure to be able to drive your expected, outcomes?
Well, I would say that diplomacy is like mathematical formula. Standards are the same everywhere. Diplomacy is more or less like, should I say, advanced PR, based on your interest. Now we are talking about collective interest. How do we harness our collective interest for the furtherance of a common interest which is Africa, instead of each person standing alone. When you lend a diplomatic voice, you're actually, telling the world, this is what I'd like to see. It's not, this is what I want to see. This is what I would like to see for my country, for us to mutually exist and trade value for value. Because diplomacy is about trading of values. You push your interest, I push my interest. At the end of the day, we come to a point where we agree on the direction to go. So, being that it's a standard acceptable all over the world, we are able to harness the standards for common interests rather than individual interests. So we are not strangers. It's not like this one is doing chemistry, this one is doing mathematics. No. Diplomatic standards are the same across the world.
What gives this league the confidence, if for want of other words, that it would be able to, achieve why I asked this question because even riding on a broader frameworks like the AU, like SADC, ECOWAS. Coordination has not been quite easy. So how do you think you're just a league of how many, for retired ambassadors?
Not retired.
Okay, former ambassadors.
Not former ambassadors.
Not former ambassadors. Both serving.
Those still at post, those serving, those who have retired, and those who have completed their tours of duty.
Yes.
Whether as ambassadors, plenipotentiaries, or ambassadors accredited to international organizations. They are all members. Whether you're serving, you're retired, you have completed your tours of duty, is immaterial.
So I'm just wondering, if ECOWAS has not been able to achieve perfect coordination, if the AU has not been able to achieve perfect coordination, if SADC has not been able to even achieve perfect coordination.
Let's go to
yes, just hold on. Yes.
I will answer you.
Yes.
These are the gaps we are trying to fill.
Okay.
The gaps that are, look, it's so difficult to function under a very structured organization. Okay? Now, if we are coming in as a pressure group to point the way to go. Okay. If you look at the problem, it's not like ECOWAS has not achieved anything. The problem is that ECOWAS' attention is mostly directed to defense and security. For instance,
trade, economic integration, and trade.
I'm coming. Yeah. Meanwhile, ECOWAS was set up as an economic community.
Yeah.
But what are the problems being tackled now? Have we had that freedom of movement of trade and investment?
But the free protocol is there, which is facilitating
all those
movement.
Protocols are there, but how many of those protocols have we picked and enforced? It will come together. It's very easy for us to mobilize for trade, security and defense, because everybody has to be safe, everybody must protect himself. If we use the same zeal that we exhibit for security and defense, for instance, we use the same zeal to mobilize trade and investment, we will go so very far. But we are not treating it we are not giving it the priority we are supposed to give. For instance, if there's a slight problem now anywhere in West Africa, I'm talking of ECOWAS now, give it 2-3 weeks. Something will be done to make sure that thing is checkmated. But we are not using the same zeal for trade and investment, which is what will really, really affect the welfare of the people. So we have a common interest as ambassadors because we have been in the field and we have seen the hindrances, we've seen the gaps, and we are seeking to fill those gaps, to draw the various governments' attention to what needs to be done to advance our common purpose, which is the general well-being of Africans.
All right, thank you so much, Ambassador Usanga. Let's go to our Zoom guest from Lusaka, Zambia, talking about Ambassador Tony Mukwita, who is the head of Media Communications Planning Committee, League of African Ambassadors. Ambassador Mukwita, good morning and welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much. I am most gratified to be with you this morning on NTA.
All right. Thank you so much. It's good to have you join us as well.
When we first came to you.
All right. Just going in line with the...
From about 6 o'clock in the morning, I didn't realize the time difference.
Oh.
So it's actually not tea, but coffee, just to keep me awake.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. What's the time difference? Okay. All right. Just going in line with the narrative of Ambassador Usanga, we're trying to get you as the spokesperson, the head of Media Communications Planning Committee for the League of African Ambassadors. Tell us the role you think that the League of Ambassadors will play, especially in promoting Africa's collective progress through diplomacy, especially redefining, the narrative about the continent.
Thank you very much. Small correction. I am only a small fly on the wall of the Planning Committee of Zambia. So I am not the continental spokesperson of the League of African Ambassadors. I am the head of the media team in the Planning Committee of Zambia by virtue of just being lucky enough to be in a country where the League of African Ambassadors was registered. And, I have been watching the interview when such eloquent people such as Ambassador His Excellency Usanga have spoken. It's a bit difficult to walk through the steps. It's a tall order. But looking at the topic that you have already outlined, collective progress through diplomacy, there is a lot of things that the League of African Ambassadors can do. And from where I am standing, or rather seated in Lusaka, we see lots of things that the League of African Ambassadors can do to complement what consecutive and several other governments are already doing very, very well. We realize that we have ambassadors that are already in office. As Ambassador Usanga already put it succinctly and poignant, we are not taking away anybody's cake. We are not taking away anybody's cheese. We are simply trying to complement the good works in diplomacy that are already on the roll and on the go. And these roles include issues such as extending greater diplomacy in the countries that we were privileged to serve in. Like, for instance, I served in the Scandinavian countries, in Sweden, and I served, my last posting was in Germany, and several other ladies and gentlemen that served in several places. We should be able to collectively put our experience to help, because only we have that experience. Let me give you an example of the current ambassador of the United States of America to the state of Israel. That is Mr. Mike Huckabee. He was a presidential candidate in the United States of America, but the experience he had gained through the Senate and through several assignments in public service, the current president saw it fit that instead of pushing him into the archives, perhaps the great thing to do is to deploy him into the foreign service, not just because he is Jewish himself, but that Jewish credential that he has adds value for the United States of America in their own way, in one way or another, in order to make things smoother between the United States of America and Israel. It is the same thing that happens in the army. I think His Excellency Ambassador Usanga mentioned this, that ambassadors do not retire. They simply retire from the missions that they serve. We'll give you an example of the service, the national service, the army. The older you get into the service, that's how you become generals. And when generals leave that office, instead of being retired to the archives, their substantive countries always call upon them to see what wisdom they can lend either to peacekeeping or peace enforcement. And that is what the League of African Ambassadors is coming with. And it is not a totally new concept. There is League of Ambassadors, retired ambassadors in the United States of America. There is similar organizations of European Union ambassadors, and there is a lot others in other jurisdictions. So Ambassador Usanga, myself and my colleagues in Zambia, led by the current president, His Excellency Ominyi Nwane, a Nigerian gentleman of noble diplomacy creed, who was very influential in registering this organization here in Zambia, have decided that when duty calls, we should be around. Like they say in the Bible, God saves all the biggest battles to the toughest soldiers. And at the moment, we see ourselves as those soldiers, Ambassador Usanga and the rest of the other team that we have. That's what I can say in introductory remarks, sir.
Excellent, excellent, Your Excellency, Ambassador Mwita. And I dare say that, you know, you said you are a small fly in the team, but you know, a fly may be small, but its presence is very, very impossible to resist. It disturbs you until it gets noticed and it gets the attention it deserves. So you may be a small fly, but definitely your presence cannot be ignored. Having said that, yes, I don't. Anyway, just to further His Excellency Ambassador Sanga's, contribution to my question, he did say that there are gaps, that the league, members of the league have identified gaps within the broader diplomatic framework, on the continent, talking about the AU, the ECOWAS, and the SADC, in terms of, achieving a unified diplomatic coordination. And I'm just going to ask you, can you give us an insight or outline briefly for us what those gaps are? What do you think are the gaps that you now want to fill? Is it in terms of political will? Is it in terms of maybe divergent national interest? I mean, we know within the continent our interests, foreign policy interests are quite different. So what do you think are these gaps? Institutional capacity or what?
Let me give you an example, since you asked for something specific. We have had a number of political differences that require diplomacy. So, for instance, we have had political differences in various African countries. I can competently speak for the Southern African Development Corporation, SADC, because I am here in SADC. And I know, I'm perfectly sure, Ambassador Usanga can do the same for ECOWAS. But here is a scenario, say a country called Zaire, non-existent, this is for argument's sake, has an election. After that election, two parties, number one and number two, feeling that the election was not free and fair. What we have seen in the past is, instead of the League of African Ambassadors coming together to say, how can we find a diplomatic or political solution to this? We have unfortunately seen the European delegation come to save poor Africa, poor Zambia, poor Malawi. Instead of having the League of African Ambassadors, given all the experience that we have had the Commonwealth Secretariat, and I have nothing against them at all, but you have a lady, very respected, noble, called Patricia Scotland, to come and sort out the differences. When a president or an opponent has been jailed, or detained, instead of having this group that has worked round the clock to ensure that there is a diplomatic closure to all this, we've had people from the past. Now, it is a deep belief of the League of African Ambassadors that we should be in a position to amicably intervene because of the experience that we have, the years that we have, and the networks that we have forged. If there is a problem between Zambia and Nigeria, if there is a problem between Zambia and Zimbabwe, if there is a problem between Nigeria and Cote d'Ivoire, we should be calling upon Ambassador Usanga. We shouldn't be calling upon the Commonwealth in London. We should be able to rise to the plate and sort out our problems, enhance diplomacy, both politically and economically, because we own that problem and we own the solutions by the virtue fact that we are the nationals. But apart from being the nationals, we have lived through the experience to know how we can sort out these issues. Because in any case, even if you bring in the Commonwealth to Nigeria or to Guinea-Bissau, where my brother, Ambassador Usanga was, the first point of call would be Ambassador Usanga. They will ask him, what is the problem? How do you think we will sort it? And then later on, go ahead to claim the credit. So, Madam, I think it's basically saying that we should own our problems and we should own the solutions and not pass them on. But above all, we should be looking at positivity. We shouldn't be looking that we have problems. We should be looking at how can we enhance this diplomacy in order to make sure that we have a positivity around ourselves instead of a sorry basket case.
Ambassador Mukwita, there, we should own our problems and we should have the solutions to be able to address these challenges. Thank you. We'll get back to you in the course of this conversation. Let's come back to the studio where we still have Ambassador Usanga. Earlier on, you talked about, the challenges actually confronting, the continent, especially in terms of security, climate, economic, and other challenges like that. So what exactly, how do you think this league will be able to help to address, these challenges, especially, to collaborate, to tackle, these common issues of security, climate change, economic development?
Well, I will speak from my experience. When I was in Guinea-Bissau, I looked at the environment, for instance. Everybody was doing his own thing, but I thought, how do you make a difference? For instance, how do you make the earth better? Because we are supposed to live it better. What is our mission in this place? Is it just to come together, drink wine, go back? So the first thing we did was talk to our fellow ECOWAS ambassadors and said, we have this privilege to make a difference. Can we just come together and hold meetings and decide what we can do? At the end of the day, ECOWAS ambassadors were able to do a lot. Medical outreach, things like that. We cooperated. I looked at the opportunities. I'm speaking practically because theories will not help us. I looked at the opportunities in Guinea-Bissau. I looked at the land, virgin, good land. I looked at the interests of other nations in Guinea-Bissau. And I looked at the influence of Nigeria as a major player in ECOWAS. And I said, no, this cannot be. So the first thing we did was to put together a trade and investment forum to expose the opportunities in Guinea-Bissau first to Africans. Okay. And we did an entirely African thing. We had, we call it Bissau Rising. And it was sponsored by the UNDP, fully sponsored. It became a rallying point for investors. We brought in investors from all over Nigeria, South Africa, and all that. We said we're going to do African thing. And some of those people, especially people from Nigeria, they went in, registered their businesses, and they took taking opportunities. So now, this is the practical way of influencing things. Mm-hmm. If you look at a gap, for instance, the opportunities in Nigeria, can we jointly execute projects? We are trying to establish, for instance, you cannot be an African, a West African, for instance, and be importing onions from somewhere else, or tomatoes, or carrots, when we have it wasted elsewhere. You are importing from somewhere else because those people are able to give you on-time delivery. So what can we do? The only thing we can do is to find a way to connect these other African countries to be able to exchange. There's nothing wrong with Nigeria feeding the world from here. There's nothing, I mean, if you want to do tomatoes, for instance, or onions that are wasted in some places, there's nothing wrong with moving those products and sharing them in other places. There's nothing wrong in joint exploration of the mineral resources, because each country may not have the capacity to do it on its own. So, to be able to fill that gap, ambassadors, they have a network interacting with different groups of people, and they are trusted. League of African Ambassadors will be trusted, for instance, in conflict resolution, could be trusted better than government, because those in conflict, for instance, might be thinking that the government trying to intervene is aligned to somewhere, but the league is neutral. So when the league comes in for more or less like a judge in a matter that is brought before him, and is dispassionate, tells you the truth, not because you are aligned to somebody, but because you want to make sure that the African governance system and everything is properly, guided, and making sure that everybody lives in peace. So we are promoting our common interests by identifying those areas of strength that we can mobilize as Africans and bringing it to the fore to government, helping the government to push those policies that will advance our interests. There's no point to stand alone. We are Africans, but we understand that it is in our interest to stand together, because we will not be able to survive the next line of action the world is towing. That's why you find people, of course, Europe doesn't need to come together. They're already okay.
They're already one. Yeah.
But they are together. Why? Because they want to muster and foster a common interest to be able to cope with the changing environment. So we cannot just sit back and expect people to do things for us. And I always tell people, look, the first point of deliverance is to identify that there's a problem. And what's the problem? When you see that problem, address it squarely. And to address that problem squarely means we have to come together and put our problems on the table, chart a course. There are many things we can do together. For instance, in Nigeria, we can feed the world with rice because we have the capacity. We want to establish aviation, for instance. South Africa, at least they assemble planes. So why can't we harness what we have together? I'm talking about the economy now, economically.
Yeah.
Why can't we harness what we have and ensure that at least we solve one problem of connectivity? If maritime connectivity is expensive, can two countries come together, pool resources, give it to a neutral company to manage the resources? these are some of the practical things that we need to do as Africans, because the world is getting fragmented. Everybody is minding his own interest. But we can't survive individually. Our key point is individually we are powerless, but together we will muster strength to have a voice, make it louder.
Ambassador Sanga, thank you. You know, I mean, these are things that are on the table. I mean, they're out there. A lot of people, I mean, everyone knows that these gaps exist. But in terms of global trade and security, I mean, you've talked about the interests of the League in enhancing trade and investment. I know that Africa's relevance in this area is also increasing, especially with the, you know, AFCTA, you know, on board and now. So in terms of strategy, how you intend to drive this renewed push, you know, for more impetus in the area of trade, what are you riding on? What kind of diplomatic strategy are you going to ride on now that is quite different? We now see, you know, soft power diplomacy is on. We know some countries will prefer what they call quiet diplomacy, where you just, you know, meet, have a dialogue, and then, you know, others are going digital. They want to, you know, use the media, digital diplomacy. So what are you riding on, you know, to achieve this?
What is reigning in the world?
So many things.
Technology.
Like I said, yes, there's also
technology, industrialization. There's no basis for us to export raw materials when we can add value to raw materials in Africa. Even if we don't have the capacity, we can tell the people taking our resources, come set up here.
Okay.
Yes, you can transfer the technology to indigenous persons, and in a few years, they can stand on their own. In this country, for instance, we used to assemble cars. I remember as a child we had Volkswagen, we had Leia, we had all those cars assembled here. Where are those plants? We just sit back and expect people to spoon feed us. I'm sorry to use that word. It doesn't happen. After a while, the people get tired of feeding you for free. So what do? Teach me to fish, and I will survive. What are they doing to advance their interest? Copy it if you don't have it, especially technology. And they are moving away. The world is moving away from the conventional technology to AI. Where are we on it? I'll give you an example. There's I don't know, in Jos, they used to manufacture vaccines. In fact, COVID-19 should have taught us a major lesson in Africa to wake up and work together. Because when the vaccines were brought out, Africa was not in consideration. And I will say it took a lot of pressure and pressure and pressure for the vaccines to be shared among Africans. Whereas if we had concentrated our effort jointly, we would have had something. And that thing is very scary, because as technology is improving, Africa will be left behind unless we wake up to the realities of the time. And the realities of the times are that new technologies will displace predominantly, personalized work. So where are we in it? That is for the economy. When we talk of common defense, for instance, and we are saying we can live together in peace. Yes, we can live together in peace because we are Africans. If we can mobilize a voice to tell our brothers, our fellow Africans, that we are one and that we need to function as one and not be influenced by external forces to separate us, I think we can do better, because it's easy for someone to trust a neutral person than to trust another person who is aligned somewhere. And so the League of African Ambassadors can come in and begin to talk to the two parties. They are talking of soft diplomacy. And soft diplomacy is what drives, because we can't be quarreling. We are sitting down, we are drinking tea together, and we are brainstorming. How was the league birthed? Through soft diplomacy. So we sit down, and you find out that the people, the policy makers of this country are individual persons. Take away the structure. If I take a decision now that binds on Nigeria, and the decision is wrong, what happens? But if I mobilize my experience and the experiences of other people based on my exposure, then I should be able to take a decision that will augur well for the interests of Nigeria. These are the areas that we need to cover as ambassadors, because we have interacted with people, with different kinds of people in different environments, and we have acquired experiences that we could mobilize to solve our problems in the African way. There will still be hindrances, but we need to push up to a certain point. We need to train and equip young people who will take over from us so that they will be prepared for the next world.
Let me just chip in again, because while you were talking, this thought came to me, because I like the Pan-African, idea. Yeah. I mean, this is something, in those days, Ghana used to be known for, the Pan-Africanism and all that. It's good, but again, within the context of ECOWAS, we've been trying to achieve a Pan-ECOWAS, ECOWAS of people by unifying our currency, by unifying our union and all that. But it hasn't been easy because of each member state's national interest pulling us. How do you hope to resolve this in case it creeps into, the league? Because the league is made up of, ambassadors from different countries with different national interests.
I understand. Everything boils down to external influences. He that pays the piper dictates the tune. Why have we not got common currency? The facts are very obvious. Because there are some external forces that are pushing that their currency should be the common currency. And other people are saying, no, we must have something neutral. So if I come to the table free from influence, somebody is not sponsoring me for anything, somebody is not dishing out things, I'll be able to talk freely. And so we are telling Africans, the dependence on external dishes, I don't even know, external crumbs that fall from the table is not helping us. Let's think of homegrown African solutions to our problems. We will break free. But that's why we have not been able to achieve. Okay, why do I achieve success in defense and security? For instance, at least when I was in Guinea-Bissau, I received the Nigerian contingent twice. Within a short period of events happening. It wasn't even up to a month when that thing happened. African countries came together and they mobilized. So why do we do that? I'm saying if we use the same zeal for defense and security to address economic problems, we will make a headway.
Okay, thank you very much, Ambassador Usanga. We'll make a headway. Let's bring in Ambassador Mukwita now, because I still want him to talk on this issue of, balancing the diverse interests and priorities of different African countries and regions, because it's a major, major challenge. We also want to remind our viewers that you can contribute to this discussion by sending us your questions and your comments so that our guests can respond to them. Ambassador Mukwita, it's over to you.
Kindly just summarize your question again. The internet broke off a little bit there.
Okay. We are looking at, the issue of trying to balance the diverse interests and priorities of different African countries and regions, because that has been the major challenge, looking at the fact that we've not been able to have this common currency, just like Ambassador Usanga talked about. Okay, I think he's freezing. Well, okay, let's have, okay, we have this comments from one of our viewers, Chike Dim from Warri, Delta State. Maybe Ambassador Usanga, maybe you respond to this. He said, Africa has yet to fully harness the transformative power of interconnectivity amongst its states. A key factor contributing to Europe's development lies in its seamless diplomatic relations and collaborative efforts towards common goals. These strong interstate connections have yielded numerous benefits for virtually all European countries. It's essential for Africans to recognize the value of such regional cooperation and work towards fostering similar ties, unlocking the continent's vast potential for growth and development.
Yeah, it still boils down to what I've said. Until we're able to establish that connectivity, we may not be able to function or trade effectively. This Africa Free Trade Continent, Africa Continental Free Trade Area will still remain on paper. What is going to drive it is, of course, we have to have interconnectivity of roads, road networks between, among African countries. Starting with ECOWAS. But the major problem has been, okay, Nigeria can do from one point to the other point. Can the next country take it from there to the next country? The capacities are different. That's why we are saying, let's not look at individual capacities. Let's see how we can mobilize and achieve this. Even if we don't have the benefit in our generation, we leave something better for the future so that goods and services can move freely. People can move freely. And then there's also this fear of being overwhelmed by smaller countries. For instance, a small country can think that if you open up the space, Nigeria being such a big place will overwhelm them. And it's not. It's an unfounded imputation, So what we need, because all this trade, opening up infrastructural development is very, very expensive. It's capital intensive. And individual countries will not be able to do it. There are some countries that have the capacity. That's why you see some countries doing roads and rails everywhere. I don't want to single out a particular country. But these roads and rails that they are building for us, nothing is free. But if we mobilize our resources, we have so much on the African soil. Each country has so much. Gold, diamond, just name it, that is feeding the whole world. So if we exploit it ourselves or add value to it, we'll be able to do so many things.
I like that you're talking about ourselves, a homegrown solution.
Exactly.
And I would put my next question to His Excellency Ambassador Mukwita. But Onyekachi Chibuzo has sent us a message. She wants to know how he or she can join the African League. I don't know if Onyekachi is an ambassador. It's either a serving or former ambassador. Onyekachi, you need to tell us. So if you have ambassadorial ambition, I don't know, those with ambassadorial ambition, can they also be member? I don't think so. But let's bring in let's bring in Ambassador Mukwita. Yes, Ambassador Mukwita. I'm just like wondering how we can translate all of this into homegrown actionable plans, because His Excellency has said, look, we're looking for homegrown solution to our, African issues. Does it mean that there'll be less, interaction or interface between Africans and, diaspora investors? And is it possible to, I don't want to say eliminate, to prevent external impact in whatever you do.
Thank you very much, Madam. I will try my best because of the erratic and constantly freezing internet, which is one of the problems we should be discussing as the League of African Ambassadors, because I think if we cannot communicate easily as Africa, then we do not have a snowball's chance in hell or in Africa to develop. I think it is Africa's richest man happens to be Nigerian, Mr. Aliko Dangote, who is widely quoted to have complained about the fact that he needs at least 30 or 32 or even 35 visas before he can crisscross Africa in order to seal one cement deal in Zambia's Chilanga, another one in the DRC, and another one in Swaziland or South Africa. So these are some of the issues that the League of African Ambassadors should be able to say, I had a good work relationship with Ambassador Usanga in Guinea. This is their crowning glory. How can we work on it to cut corners or to short circuit in order to work much faster? And the other issue is I did almost 10 years in Europe. Never once did I have to present a passport for it to be stamped because everything was computerized, and also they have a system that works very well called the Schengen visa. So that makes ease of movement. You may be wondering why I'm talking about Schengen visas and Mr. Aliko Dangote, but I think this goes to touch back a little bit on what Ambassador Usanga just said a few minutes ago, and this is about the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. It is one of the things that the League of African Ambassadors can try to accelerate, can try to give a steroid boost in order to ensure that we reduce poverty and we create jobs on the continent. I mean, it is not very good to speak about a continent of 1.4 billion people, whom more than 60% live in abject poverty. And the entire GDP of the continent is probably about 1.8 trillion. When we have a country like China with about $11 trillion in GDP, we have the United States of America, the richest country on the whole earth, with about $27 trillion GDP. The disparity is too huge. The gap, the divide between the haves and the have-nots in Africa compared to whom we have to trade with, even before we go out of the continent, is a little bit high. And again, forgive me if I digress, but it's because we were having that frozen internet moment, which I think should be corrected if we have to enhance our economic growth and reduce poverty. We've got a youthful population. And I think the League of African Ambassadors...
Tony Mokwita, we're sorry, we just have to pause you there because of our time. Thank you so much for your contribution on today's conversation. Ambassador Tony Mokwita is head of Media Communications Planning Committee in the Zambia. Thank you so much for your contribution. Thank you. All right, okay, thank you. Let's come back to Ambassador Usanga and just parting shot in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
What are some of the obstacles that you are the league's likely to face, and how do you intend to resolve them?
Yeah, one of the obstacles we have is visa to move freely. And that we have already overcome in the case of Zambia.
Okay.
Because I don't need to apply and wait for 2 weeks. All I need is a letter from them to enable me board the plane. And I get my visa at the point of delivery. It's progress for us.
Okay.
So if we can open up the space for Africans to move freely, I think we'll do better.
All right. Thank you so much. Open up the space for Africans to move from Lagos to Nairobi to, Addis Ababa. Thank you so much. Ambassador John Usanga, Deputy Spokesperson, League of African Ambassadors, former Nigerian ambassador to Guinea-Bissau and Cape Verde. Thank you for your contribution.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, we'll take a break now. When we return, our second discussion on the vaccine drive will commence. Stay with us.
The Renewed Hope Initiative RHI presents the RHI Green Nigeria Challenge. Go green today for a greener tomorrow. This national competition is in 3 categories. The household category is a tree planting competition amongst 11 frontline states in northern Nigeria. Each participating household in Adamawa, Borno, Bauchi, Gombe, Jigawa, Kano, Katsina, Kebbi, Sokoto, Yobe, and Zamfara states will plant a minimum of 1 tree to qualify, with a video evidence of before and after the tree planting exercise. 20 million naira will be awarded to the best household. Submission deadline is 20th December 2026. Community category will see local governments, local communities, schools, and NGOs reclaim and transform degraded or abandoned areas such as dump sites, landfills, parks, and their likes into green, vibrant gardens, parks, and eco-friendly spaces. 50 million naira would be awarded to the overall best community group. Deadline for submission is 15th July 2026. State category will have all states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory, excluding Enugu State, have a chance to address the growing threats to environmental sustainability and cleanliness. States will be judged based on the number of trees planted on major roads and inner streets and how clean they are. 100 million naira will be awarded to the best performing state. Already, Enugu State has 100 million naira for being RHI's model green state due to its greenery and cleanliness. Video evidence must be submitted by participating states on or before 20th December 2026. All entries must be directed to RHI Office, State House, Abuja, or email rhi.greenchallenge@statehouse.gov.ng. RHI Green Nigeria Challenge. Go green today for a greener tomorrow.
From the Atlantic across the savannah to the Sahara, we rise, a land of the free, we know they tire. We dream great, our spirit is undying.
Resilient, rooted like palm tree, we sway in colors, we turn dark into light, we make solutions, we ignite passion, yeah. Diversity is unique, we are more than just solution. We are Nigeria, strengthened in unity, we know they carry life. We are Nigeria, together live the dream of a land with great destiny. We are Nigeria.
I am the real Nigerian. Brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
All right, welcome back to the program. We're having, interesting private conversation, which of course we'll make public very soon. We're talking about the crucial efforts to safeguard the health and well-being of millions of Nigerian children, actually, which is taking center stage through an integrated campaign targeting measles, rubella, polio, human papillomavirus, and other such big names, of course, through vaccine preventable diseases, including neglected tropical ones.
Yeah, absolutely, Claire. It is a comprehensive initiative designed to strengthen routine immunization, reach the most vulnerable populations, and move Nigeria closer to a healthier, safer future for all.
So at this hour, we will be exploring why this campaign matters, challenges that come with such a massive public health effort, but most importantly, we'll be looking at the impact it could have on our children and, of course, communities across the country.
So to help us understand the scope and significance of this drive, we are now being joined by Dr. Muyi Aina. He's the Executive Director and Chief Executive Officer of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency. Dr. Aina, it's good to have you again join us. Good morning.
Thank you and good morning.
Good morning. Good to have you. Let me start first of all, so that we can catch up with a lot of clarifications within the given time. Talk to us about this campaign. What really makes it integrated, and why is it very significant, given the impetus you have given to it at this time?
I think just to first of all remind all of us that one of the top priorities of President Tinubu's government for the health sector is to reduce preventable deaths among children. Vaccine preventable diseases account for a large majority of this, so vaccines are very important to safeguarding the health and well-being of the Nigerian child. Now, when you look within that, there are certain diseases that are very common, that are very often and have, caused a substantial number of deaths. This year, across the country, we have recorded over 10,000 cases of measles, for example, and the deaths that are on record are at least 76 of them. That's 76 children too many that have lost their lives unnecessarily, and this is because over the last several decades, there have been efforts to improve the coverage, the reach of children with routine vaccines, but there have been gaps that we are now trying to catch up on. So the president graciously approved that we do this integrated campaign that does a number of things, using one platform to reach over 106 million Nigerian children between birth and 14 years old. And the idea being that there are many interventions that they need that the same health system is trying to give to them. If we're going to be going out to look for them, why don't we try to reach them with as much of it as possible at the same time? It saves money, it saves time, it's more efficient, but it also serves the needs of the child some more. Yeah.
Okay, while telling us about the effectiveness of this integrated campaign, can you talk more about this so-called, is it rubella? Rubella.
I know you're going to ask.
Because, she said it's more deadlier than the measles and all that. Can you just...
So rubella, interestingly, is also a childhood rash. That's how it presents, that occurs in children. Clinically, it tends to be a bit milder than measles. In fact, most of the time it's confused for mild measles, but it's not measles. The most important attribute of rubella is that, when pregnant women get it, it can have very devastating impact on the unborn child. Children are born with life-damaging deformities, blindness, deafness, brain abnormalities, heart abnormalities, and things like that, what is called congenital rubella syndrome. And that changes the lives of the parents, changes the lives of the child, and denies that, family the ability to live a fulfilled life. So that is very, very important. That is why we're trying to reach everybody, even children, but also people that are going into that adolescent age that will start to have pregnancies. Now, the good thing is we have a product that works. That's the good news, you know, and we have an opportunity. The government is administering it to all the children, and we encourage all Nigerians to tap into it.
Let me just do a follow-up, so people will understand, you know, the gravity of rubella in pregnancy, because we've seen in recent times, you know, a lot of pregnant women who, you know, give birth to, you know, babies with some form of congenital, you know, deformities and all that. Could that somehow be associated with rubella?
In many instances.
Is there any link?
Yes. In many instances, what has in fact happened is that these women unfortunately contracted rubella during their pregnancy. Okay. You know, either before or during, but it's carried into and it affects the development of the baby. Because we weren't really diagnosing this before, we weren't paying too much attention to it, and we also didn't have the vaccine in our routine system yet, you know. So
that's
we were missing
for rubella.
For rubella, yes. The measles vaccine has been on the routine program for many years, you know. But now, because of efficiency, we have a combined vaccine that actually tackles both of them. So, in fact, some of those congenital anomalies, probably not all of them, because there are a few other causes, you know, but some of those congenital anomalies, these are the birth defects that children have at birth, you know, are attributable, in fact, to rubella.
Okay, tell us, why is polio still a concern, you know, in Nigeria, and how does, you know, circulating variant poliovirus type 2 affect the eradication efforts?
So, you know, decades ago, Nigeria had thousands of cases of wild poliovirus. The government, partners, you know, and Nigerians, the traditional leaders and communities came together and through a concerted effort really pushed very hard and ended that epidemic, that local epidemic of wild poliovirus. That we were certified free of wild polio in 2020, and Nigeria remains free of wild poliovirus. Just wanted to establish that fact. Unfortunately, a variant type came up and started to spread, you know, as of 3-4 years ago, again, really just ravaging and going around the country. But now, through concerted efforts of some of the same approaches and tools that we used before, trying to reach every child with the oral polio vaccine. Again, the problem was that we were missing the same children over and over again. So when you have clusters of children that have missed vaccination, you know, for a while, then the virus enters the community and starts to spread there. So aggressively now, through reforms of our polio program, we have tried to identify those locations. We're also doing polio campaigns. Of course, polio is integrated with this measles rubella campaign as well. It's one of the interventions that we're delivering. But even beyond that, in between campaigns, we're going to specific high-risk locations and trying to identify children, try to target them one by one to address the reasons why they're missing it, the reasons why their parents are rejecting, the reasons why their communities have not been reached, and trying to make sure they get these vaccines and prevent disease.
Let me. There's something I'm not getting clear with the integrated vaccine for measles and rubella. You've said that children, I mean parents should take their children 0 to 14 years, you know, for vaccination, which means children will be given the integrated vaccine. But rubella affects the child, you know, during pregnancy. So should mothers also, are mothers also part, you know?
Especially pregnant women.
Pregnant women, should they also take this vaccine? Because I don't understand at what point the child needs to take, you know.
So in fact, pregnant women are encouraged. It's part of the vaccines that you should take when you're pregnant. But you see, because this is a population campaign that is also integrated with many other childhood vaccines. Once you take the vaccine, you are protected until you grow up and you start to have babies. So we want to catch them early, you know. So we're targeting the children population now. But as part of routine care for pregnant women, rubella protection is part of it.
Oh,
okay. Yes. All right.
Interesting.
Okay, okay. Tell us, who are the major stakeholders and what role do you envisage for them?
So if you think about the range of children that we're targeting, it's from birth to 14 years old. You have people who are at home nursing, or in nursery school. Those are in primary school, in secondary school, children that are out of school, you know, teenagers. So we're being very multi-sectoral. The health sector, you know, we're working with communities, of course, and gatekeepers, traditional leaders, women leaders, religious leaders, churches and mosques, to reach our young women and our, you know, older women that can also influence the younger women. Education sector is very important, you know, formal, informal education. We're collaborating very closely with them because school program and school vaccination will be critical to reaching the older kids, you know, amongst this cohort.
Are you taking traditional and religious leaders along too?
Absolutely, absolutely. The First Lady of the country, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, kindly flagged off this campaign on Monday, and you know, His Eminence the Sultan was there in person. The Onirisha of Ife was there. You know, Imperial Majesty was there in person. We had the Emir of Argungu. We had the President of Khan. You know, we had you know, representatives from the religious leaders and the traditional leaders, and that's because they influence the people. They are gatekeepers of information. They inform what people do, so people listen to them. So we need them to put out the word that the vaccines are safe. They are effective, you know, and people should take them to protect their own lives. The government is doing its own part to make it available. The president has resourced it, has made this available to Nigerians, and we have the responsibility to take it to protect our children. Other stakeholders remain, you know, you all in the media space, you know, you are also the gateway of information, and I cannot miss this opportunity to also ask that programs like this, but also just frequent dissemination of information. We're happy to avail you, you know, of information and jingles, and where there are questions, also let us know. Of course, teachers, caregivers, you know, all of those are very important stakeholders.
Fantastic. Let's quickly, let me try to put, you know, multiple questions because of the time. We are running out of time. First, this vaccine, integrated vaccine, is it new? Are there symptoms after taking them that, you know, parents should take note of? And how do you intend to preserve its potency in terms of you know, cold chain management and all that?
So the measles rubella vaccine in particular is not brand new, it's not new in the market. It's been used in many countries for years, but we're newly introducing it, you know, as a combined vaccine in Nigeria. And the reason again is for efficiency, but also just because it's the same age of children that you target, so for convenience. It's an injection that you give a child. So every injection comes with a few potential side effects. There's pain, potentially, for the child. There may be a bit of swelling and all of that, but there are very simple ways to just balm that and treat it and give the child. There may be slight fever, you know, because again, it's a measles-containing vaccine. You know, people are very familiar with the measles vaccine. That's the advantage that we have here as well. You know, so it's very similar to what we're used to. You may have a little fever, a little irritation by the child, but simple.
Is it because it's combined?
No. Even the measles vaccine alone would give that, because again, it's a life-attenuated virus. So the idea is a weakened version of that can, you know, trigger immune reaction, and children can react in different ways to that. It's a cold chain dependent vaccine, to your point, and one of the things that the government has also done is to even introduce this. We did an assessment and identified where there were gaps, and you might have been aware that about a couple of months ago, you know, we distributed about 1,642 units of solar direct drive refrigerators to health facilities in places where there were gaps. So we have systems in place, very strong systems, to not only store the vaccines at every level, federal, state, and local government, but also to track them in transit. So we have remote temperature monitoring devices, so that where we are in our office, you can see, you know, the state of your vaccines, where they are. We're also tracking the stock to make sure that it's one thing to be potent, it's another thing for it to be adequate in the field.
Okay, my last question will be on, you know, your expected outcome with the involvement of the First Lady. I mean, that was a very robust flag off, national flag off, performed by the First Lady. So what's your expected outcome now that the First Lady has done the flag off?
I think, again, we're very thankful and for her graciousness, because that just demonstrates the First Lady's commitment and to the health of Nigerians, which is in line with the President's agenda for us as well. Now, but she also threw a challenge, which gives us a number of steps. First of all, the cascade of this. Many state First Ladies have also flagged off. Some governors have been involved. And then, all of the stakeholders, all of the facilities, will be providing vaccination. About 19 states plus the FCT, and 19 states of the North plus the FCT and Oyo State, so that's 21, are starting right away in the first phase. The rest of the southern states, excluding Oyo, will do theirs in January or February. Now, this vaccine, everybody is supposed to take 2 doses of it. And the idea is that during these 2 phases of the campaign, the output that we want is we want to reach 106 million individual children. Now, the second dose of it will then be part of the routine vaccination, because then you have a record of these children, you know where they are, and then you can link them to the neighboring health facility for the second dose, which should come, 4 or so weeks after.
Is it free? And where can parents go now?
Okay. It is important to know that the government is providing this vaccine for free, as with every routine and campaign vaccines for all Nigerians. So parents can go to all health facilities, primary health centers, general hospitals, federal teaching tertiary hospitals. Private hospitals, may or may not, if the vaccine is provided for them for free.
Okay, Dr. Mui, before we allow you to go, yes, tell us how these initiatives align with the primary health care system.
One of the core pillars of what we're trying to do is to reform our campaign structure. The campaigns are not the normal way of doing things. There should be a routine system where every child routinely comes in and gets the services. So this is part of our health campaign effectiveness.
Dr. Mui, I'm sorry, I have to stop here. Executive Director and Chief Executive Officer of the National Primary Health Care Development Agency, we wish you all the best, and we'll certainly will be following you up, and we will come and get those jingles and adverts that you talked about. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. All right, that's Good Morning Nigeria for this Wednesday. I thank you for joining us. I am Claire Adilabu Abdulrazak. Bye-bye. I'll see you next week.
All right, I'm Ademola Adiri. Do have a lovely day.